Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I've got an update on one of those stories that's been sent to me by everybody. Thank you very much. And this is a happy kind of ending. The story's not over yet, but it looks like it's going to end well. But at least a big portion of it has. From the Associated Press, a Kansas county has agreed to pay $3 million and apologize over the raid on a small town newspaper. John Hanna and Heather Hollingsworth wrote this. The rural Kansas county has agreed to pay a little more than $3 million and apologize over the law enforcement raid on the small town weekly newspaper back in 2023 that sparked an outcry over press freedom. I did several stories about it. Marion County Sheriff's officers were involved in the raid on the Marion County Record, that's the newspaper, and helped draft search warrants used by Marion City Police to enter the newspaper's offices, the publisher's home, and the home of a local city council member. The editor and publisher said they intentionally wanted to harass us for reporting the news, and you're not supposed to do this in a democracy. He added he hoped the payment was large enough to discourage similar actions in the future. The raid prompted 5 federal lawsuits against the county, the city, and local officials. The man's 90-year-old mother, who's the paper's co-owner, died of a heart attack the next day, which he blames on the stress of the raid. During the raid, authorities seized cell phones and computers from the newsroom and rifled through reporters' desks. Search warrants linked the raid to a dispute between a local restaurant owner and the newspaper. And the newspaper had obtained a copy of her driving record while reporting on her request for a city liquor license. The raid also came after the newspaper had dug into the background of the police chief at the time who led the raid. The raid triggered a national debate, and that's putting it mildly. There was a firestorm. There was a brouhaha nationally about press freedom focused on Marion, a town of about 1,900 people, set among the rolling prairie hills, some 150 miles southwest of Kansas City, Missouri. Police body cam footage from Meyer's home, that's editor, showed his mother, who lived with him, visibly upset and telling officers, "Get out of my house." So he's the editor and publisher, and his mother was one of the owners. An attorney for the newspaper released a copy Tuesday of the 5-page settlement agreement resolving legal claims against the county. Claims against the city and city officials have not been settled, so there's still more to come. Meyer, again the editor, said he believes they'll face a larger judgment once those claims are eventually resolved. Marion County's administrator and attorneys for the city and county did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Under the judgment, the estate of Meyer's mother will receive $1 million. Meyer, 2 former Record reporters, and the paper's business manager will split the $1.1 million, and the former city council member will receive $650,000. Meyer said he's considering a fund to ensure that the paper remains financially viable, or a program to encourage young journalists to work in small communities like this one. Because you don't want to discourage them by saying, oh, by the way, they might raid the office if you write something they don't like. Meyer said the goal isn't to get the money is symbolic. The press has basically been under assault. 3 days after the raid, the local prosecutor said there was not enough evidence to justify it. Experts said the police chief was on legally shaky ground when he ordered it, and a former top federal prosecutor for Kansas suggested it might have been a criminal violation of civil rights. Oh? A retired Kansas Press Association executive director said Tuesday that the raid violated the state's shield law for journalists. It allows law enforcement agencies to seek subpoenas to obtain confidential information, but requires them to show a compelling interest and that they can't obtain it in another way. The man speaking there was the association's executive director when the law was enacted back in 2010. The law has been on the books for a while. They should know about it. The Record is known for its aggressive coverage of local issues, and the guy from the Press Association suggested police were trying to get at him, the editor of the paper, because of his adversarial relationship with local officials, adding, it totally backfired. They didn't follow any of those requirements, and therefore was really a slam dunk in terms of whether they broke the law or not. Now, a professor at the University of Kansas who teaches media law described the raid as an egregious violation of the First Amendment rights of Meyer and the Weekly. And by the way, it's not just theirs. It's violating the rights of all the readers of the paper. It's violating the rights of the people in the community because the community counts on the paper to publish the news. And if they're being silenced through criminal acts, so the professor says, I share his hope that an award of this size serves as a deterrent against future ill-conceived warrants with political motivations. And no amount of money brings Joan Meyer back. That's the woman who died. We need to stay vigilant against government incursions on the press. The search warrants were premised on the idea that the newspaper and a reporter may have illegally impersonated the local restaurant owner to obtain her driving record online, and that the former city council member illegally circulated it by sending a cell phone screenshot to the city manager. Now, two special prosecutors who reviewed the raid and its aftermath said nearly a year later that the record, its staff, and that one council member had committed no crimes. No crimes. The prosecutors also said the warrants signed by the judge contained inaccurate information from an inadequate investigation and that the searches were not legally justified. And then the man who was police chief resigned. Here's the thing. I've read arrest warrants before. I've read search warrants before. And what they start out with is an affidavit that somebody fills out and says, here's everything I know. Based on this, a search warrant should be issued, or an arrest warrant should be issued. And the law enforcement person signs it under oath. So if it contains inaccurate information that's been sworn to under oath, you need to take a look at that for potential perjury. Because I have seen police officers and detectives charged with perjury for filing affidavits sworn to under oath that contained inaccurate information. It's really easy if you can make stuff up to get a search warrant or an arrest warrant. Just make stuff up and swear to it. Well, you shouldn't be able to do that. So if you do, maybe they should be looking at you for perjury. Just a comment there. So the former police chief is scheduled to go on trial in February on a felony charge of interfering with a judicial process, accused by the two special prosecutors of persuading a potential witness to withhold information from authorities investigating his conduct. He had pleaded not guilty and did not respond to a text message recently seeking comment about the county's agreement. The charge against him stems from text messages between him and the business owner after the raid. The business owner had said that he had asked her to delete text messages between them, fearing people could get a wrong idea about their relationship, which she said was professional and platonic. By the way, my laughing there is not editorializing. I just occasionally laugh erratically. What can I tell you? The Marion County Commission approved the agreement after discussing it in private for 15 minutes. Now, again, when the commission meets behind closed doors for 15 minutes and comes out and goes, yeah, we'll pay a couple $1 million, $3 million. It's kind of like a jury deliberating for 15 minutes and coming back out with a verdict. Okay? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. That's what they should do. The agreement required the new sheriff to issue an apology. And the sheriff's statement does that. The sheriff's office wishes to express its sincere regrets to Eric and Joan Meyer and Ruth and Ronald Herbel for its participation in the drafting and execution of the Marion County Police Department search warrants on their homes and the Marion County Record. That's a statement from the sheriff's office. So remember that the police chief had resigned, and so this is not the police chief making this apology. This is the sheriff's office making the apology. And what's important about that is you might say, Steve, isn't it kind of like when a teacher grabs a little kid by the ear and drags him over and makes him apologize? Say you're sorry. I'm sorry, and then lets him go? No, this is actually different. This is actually different. Because even though it was a court-ordered apology, basically, I mean, it's a settlement, but they've been ordered to apologize. The apology here has both a legal effect and just a general confirmation effect that now everyone knows that what the sheriff's office did was wrong. The sheriff's office had stepped up and admitted it. And it might not have been these exact same people who were involved, but they've admitted that, yes, this office did something wrong. Because that's the other thing you got to remember, is that courts and police departments and other organizations are something other than the people who work there. So when you're looking at a judge on the bench, you have to remember that that judge speaks for the court, So if you're in front of a different judge in the same court, you're actually in front of the same court. And a sheriff's department or a police department or whatever it might be is a department that does something. And there might be one or two bad apples in there. And when the bad apple leaves, you don't track him down and go, you apologize. I mean, if he did, it might be nice. But this department apologizing is pointing out that as an organization, previously, this organization did something wrong. And the people who are here now acknowledge it, apologize for it, and we're owning up to it. And that's always been one of those things that's bothered me. It happens a lot in the law with police departments and so on, where they let somebody resign. And the person goes off into the sunset, and people are looking at the people who stayed behind and say, well, what about you guys? Oh, we don't have to apologize. We didn't do anything wrong. He did. Okay, wasn't he working for you? Wasn't he a representative of your department? Was he an agent of yours? When he was acting on your behalf and did something wrong, shouldn't you apologize for that? No, look at that. He's gone already. He's over the horizon. I can't even see him anymore. I've already forgotten what he looks like. No, you have to apologize. And people understand it wasn't you personally. But you should stand up and say, this organization did something wrong for which we apologize. And people understand if you weren't there, it wasn't you personally. But you have to understand that what happened to this newspaper, there's a reason it made worldwide news. This was covered by organizations in other countries. And it was something that first graders understood. That's one of stories I've covered on this channel. You've got your civil asset forfeiture, you got your qualified immunity, and you got the raid on that little newspaper. This is just one story about one newspaper in one small town, but everybody recognized how wrong it was, what happened there. Everybody. And, I don't know what age I was when I first heard of the concept of freedom of the press, but I seem to recall I was quite young when I got that. And it's just something that we're all familiar with. And the newspapers are there for a reason. And they should be allowed to report on our government officials, because if they don't, who will? How many people here have attended a city council meeting in the last month? Yet there's some reporter in the corner reporting on it. We need that. And I don't want the reporter in the corner being scared going, well, if I write what they actually said, I'll get in trouble. Don't want that either. I want a reporter to go there, pay attention, and if they spot something amiss, to report on it. That's what we want. So I'm so happy to see this, but keep in mind, they haven't settled everything yet. They've settled part of it, but the part they settled was worth $3 million. But unfortunately, it will not bring back the woman who died, who had a heart attack. And did all of this have anything to do with a heart attack? I have no doubt that it did. No question in my mind. So thank you to everybody who sent it from the Associated Press. Kansas County agrees to pay $3 million and apologize over a raid on a small town newspaper. John Hanna and Heather Hollingsworth wrote it. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness.